one of our chief concerns after President Bush came into office was to handle the evolving liberal spirit or unrest in Eastern Europe in a way that was different before, because in Berlin in '53, in Hungary in '56, Czechoslovakia in '68, there had been these upwellings of resistance, or whatever you want to call it, and it had been crushed by the Soviet Union. And we didn't want that to happen again. So what we wanted is to encourage the liberalization, but at a pace which was below that which the Soviet Union would have to feel it had to crush it. Now, we didn't know what that was. So that was the first sort of thing. Gorbachev was, in a way, doing what we thought was our work for us, because while we didn't really think Gorbachev was a Democrat, he was trying to make the Soviet Union more efficient by going after corruption, absenteeism, drunkenness, and also the repressive aspects of the system which stifled productivity. So he was trying to make the system more efficient. And we thought that was good, because in the process of doing it, he was undermining what kept it together. So the issue of the independence of the constituent members of the Soviet Union came up very late in that. And in '91, Gorbachev had this revised notion of the USSR, in which he was going to make it a more confederal than a federal system, which ended up putting the system apart.
I want to ask you about the speech that President Bush gave to the Ukrainian parliament a few weeks before the failed coup. New York Times columnist William Safire dubbed it the Chicken Kiev speech. In that speech, President Bush warned against suicidal nationalism, and a few weeks later, Ukrainians voted overwhelmingly to declare independence from the USSR. How much debate, if there was a debate in the administration, went on about what to say in that speech, and were there disagreements about whether or not he should come out so strongly against nationalism and independence?
There was not much debate, because in reading the speech, we had something very different in mind than the way the speech was interpreted, the Chicken Kiev aspect of it. Because what we were seeing at the present time was going on in Yugoslavia, where 6 small entities who had been combined into one state, one small state, were breaking into 6 little bitty states. And so what we were saying is to Ukraine, don't think about whether or not you want to be part of the Soviet Union, but there's East Ukraine and West Ukraine, and there was a lot of enmity or discussion between the two of them. Don't let that kind of suicidal nationalism get you carried away. That was the message, but it was not. In retrospect, I would not have recommended the president give the speech, because it was too complicated.
Finally, if you could take a long view of sort of the optimistic feeling that was in the air when this happened 20 years ago.
The sense of optimism was not an illusion, in the sense that the Cold War was over, and that was good for mankind. It was an illusion in the sense that the path was really very smooth. What really happened inside the Soviet Union is that Gorbachev, in trying to improve efficiency, first tried to revise the political structure. Well, after he revised the political structure, he had no political power left to deal with the economy. So the economy was inherited by Yeltsin and was this Soviet economy. So Yeltsin sold shares in all the state firms to get some money to run the country. And then Putin comes along and he says, Yeltsin, you gave away the whole industrial part of the Soviet Union, and you told the provincial governors, take all the power you think you can hold. That's not the way you can run a country. So he starts to re-centralize. So this is just an evolution of the Russians seeking to find where is really their center of gravity.
General Scowcroft, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.